Oh, welcome to the mission. I'm your show host, Brian Butler, and I have with me today, Rolla Brown. Rolla is a retired Master Sergeant of the United States Air Force, where she served 23 years. She is also a retired civil servant that spent time working for the Pentagon and NASA. Rolla maintained top security secret clearance over her entire career through both NASA and the Air Force, which is probably why I never got away with any of the things I was trying to do in secret, because she just knew it all. She would always catch me. But now Rolla is a happily married mother of three who serves as the commissioner and boss of her own football league. Hey, hello, Rolla. Welcome to the mission. How are you?
Hey, son. Thank you. And I'm doing great. Great.
So I'm going to refer to you as Rolla where I can, even though it feels so disrespectful to me not to be calling you mom throughout the show. But mom, I had to put in there the part about happily married, because if I didn't, people are going to be all in my mentions, trying to hit on you, talking about how pretty your mama is. And I just don't, I've already been scarred through life for that. I don't need it. So I mentioned how happily married you are.
Need to stop.
No, that's the truth. That is the truth. Hey, mom.
Yes.
Did you know that you are the first female or lady to be on the Welcome to the Mission show?
You know, that's funny, because I try to catch all of your shows. And it didn't dawn on me. I mean, I think, like the people that you brought on, they were all interesting and just great. And it didn't even occur to me. So you saying that, it's like, okay. But you know what? I am highly honored, and I feel highly honored. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, mom, for being willing to come on. And by the way, this is our 10th show. So we're breaking records and setting trends all over the place, because we made it to 10 shows. And nice. On the 10th show, I have my mother, who is a strong Black female who raised 3 strong kids and had a wonderful career. So I thank you for that, mom. And thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for asking me, kiddo.
Yes. So as we talk, before we dive into your wonderful careers that you've had in the military and working for the Pentagon and working for NASA, I'm going to take it back to probably what some would consider probably your first major hurdle in life, which was the moment you realized at the age of 17 that you were pregnant with what would end up being probably a big-eared child. How did you deal with that stress, and how did you deal with that news?
Well, kiddo, I was scared. I was really scared, and I was petrified to tell my parents, because, I was this smart, good girl. Good girls don't get pregnant back then anyway. Yeah. And, it was just a very scary time for me. When I did tell my family, it's funny, because I wasn't showing, and I was going to school in Germany, because they didn't have a school for us in Italy, high school. And I came home in May, and that's when my parents found out. And I told them. I was scared to death, but I had a very supportive family. My dad told me, keep your head up. You didn't do anything wrong. You just got caught. That's what Daddy told me. And, right. And so everybody was very supportive, but I was bringing my baby into this world.
What was it about you that you knew, no matter what, I'm having this child?
Nothing else ever occurred to me, kiddo. I was pregnant. and I was having the baby. Now, I definitely believe in pro-choice, and that was my choice. I was going to keep my child.
And I
And
appreciate that, Mom. It's funny because I didn't anticipate actually getting worked up. I'm a tough dude. I'm almost tearing up over hearing the story, you know. So that's beautiful, and I thank you tremendously for making that commitment to me, and then obviously making it to my brothers and my sisters along the way, and you know, so you've been a great mom and a great provider. So thank you tremendously, Mom, for that, for making that decision. So, what made you decide to go into the Air Force as opposed to the other branches of the military?
well, my dad was Air Force, and that's all I knew.
When you retired from the military, you were the rank of a master sergeant.
Yes.
And that is pretty impressive. Once again, for people that may not know about military and military structure, can you explain the difference between enlisted and officers, and maybe the structure of rank of the enlisted side?
Okay, so the enlisted side is you'll hear a lot of people say that the enlisted folks are the backbone of the military, because it's like, it's over 80% of the force is enlisted. So as enlisted people, you learn, skills, you get the knowledge and everything to ensure your unit's success. Take orders and just kind of make sure that things happen. With the officers, they have field grade, company grade, and then generals. And what their job is to they plan the missions, they give orders, and they make sure that they have all the right folks in place to get it done. And because ultimately they are responsible.
Throughout your time in the military, what do you think were some of the skills that you were able to learn in your service in the military?
I think, a lot of times when people talk about, you have to know how to listen to people. You have to know how to motivate people. You have to know who your people are that you're working with, because this person reacts this way to something, another person doesn't. So, you want to motivate, you want to lead, you want to be a good leader. And you don't want to ask your folks to do anything that you won't do. And, but you are the one that is responsible. So you have to take that upon yourself. So you try to guide your folks, build them up, encourage them, and just be the best that you can be for them, so that they can have the confidence in you, and you show them that you have the confidence in them.
That's great. Appreciate your service, Mom. Okay, before we move on, we're going to talk about retirement, moving on, next job. Before we do that, we're going to play a little game. This game is called The Gift and the Curse of Me Having a Young and Attractive Mother, You as my mom growing up. So we're gonna start with, what was the gift that I received from having you being my mother, young and attractive? What was the gift to that? Go.
First of all, thank you for saying that is a gift. And I just think that you all were just great, and I liked all y'all's friends, and
yes,
I thought they liked and respected me too.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, they did. Okay, so I'm gonna let your answer stand for now, because I'll move on to part two. What was the curse? What was the curse of me having a young and attractive mother, being you as a kid?
I don't have an answer to that one. I hope there was no curse.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, it's really one and the same, right? So the gift is that many people would be very nice to me, particularly men in the military would be very nice to me, would take extra time to teach me how to shoot my jump shot. Would see me walking home and would pull over and say, hey, how you doing, bud? So what's going, hey man, how's your mom doing? Oh. So the curse is the same thing. All these dudes always trying to get close to me. I'm thinking they want to be my mentor. And all they doing is asking me to put in favors with my mom. To put a good word in with my mom. It never failed.
Oh, you're so silly.
So the gift is the coolest dudes on the base, for a fact, will want to be my friend, would take me under their wing, will help me with my basketball. But it always came with, at the end of it, say, man, when your mom coming to pick you up, man?
Well,
you tell your mom how I taught you how to shoot and dribble, man.
I'm glad you got that gift.
yes. So, you know, I mean, I'm definitely thankful. Also, the gift is that I may not show it, I may not have it now, but as a youth, a lot of people thought I looked like my mom and was attractive like my mom. So I thank you for those genes, because it helped me along the way to secure my wife and your 4 grandkids. So
yes, thank you.
Yes, okay. So as we move on now, you exit the military and you go and work for the Pentagon.
Yes, as soon as I made my decision, I started getting my resume together and putting it out. And I think it was Monster. I don't know what it was back then, but I got a hit from DC. And one of the good things was that I had a top secret clearance. Well, I tell you, that's gold. And so I had that, and I got a job as a contractor, and I did contract support and financial analysis for the Secretary of the Air Force project operations office. And I'm sorry, not project operations, but operations office. And it was a great job. And the first thing that I noticed was that my very first paycheck, they took more taxes out of my check than I cleared with my check from the Air Force. I was like, oh Lord, I'm rich. Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
You know?
Moving on up.
Yes, exactly. And I love that job, met good people.
So sadly, to transition a little bit, you know, during your time at the Pentagon, there was one of the worst atrocities in American history, which was the attacks on the Twin Towers and the attacks on the Pentagon. You were working there at that time. Do you recall how that day went for you? You weren't in the office, but do you recall how that day went for you?
Oh my God. That was one of the worst times. It was very scary. I'd had an operation. I was in physical therapy that morning, going to work later. And I was on the table doing my little PT. And then they had the TV on, and it was like breaking news. And they showed the Twin Towers. And then shortly thereafter, they showed the Pentagon being bombed. And so I jumped up, I got up immediately, and I started, you know, calling my office. I couldn't get my office, anyone in the office. And excuse me, I got in my car and was trying to get home. And it was like, actually, I got in my car and initially was headed to the Pentagon. Then I'm like, no, that's not the right thing to do. And so, you know, started heading home. It took me hours to get home. By the time I got home, everybody that I knew had called and left messages, panicked, my mom crying, you know, everything. And we were, they had let the kids out of school. Brandon was a latchkey kid, just like you and Steph. And he was in the 4th grade, 5th grade, and they had let them out of school. But also when they let them out of school, they had told him the Pentagon had gotten bombed, and one of Brandon's classmates had lost his father in the attack. They put them on the bus. So Brandon's coming home and he's thinking that I had gotten killed at the Pentagon because the Pentagon was bombed. And fortunately, I had made it home before he did. And, you know, had to go through that with him. And when school, well, he was out of school for a couple of days and we were away from the Pentagon for 3 days a week, something like that. And when I went back to work, it was the hardest thing because going in the building, you could smell ashes, you could smell the smoke, and knowing what happened, it was just, I went in there the first day and was just, you know, full of tears. That was one of the worst things that ever experienced, because everybody, you knew someone or had seen someone or passed someone or had worked with someone, and they were hurt or injured or, you know, had died. So that was it was very difficult. And they, you know, they handled things really well, you know, to get everybody back and you know, to some form of normalcy, you know, talk to people, you know, some counseling and memorials and everything. So yeah, that was a pretty tough time. It was really tough.
Yeah, yeah, I could remember being scared and worried about you during that time period. So, you know, blessings and prayers to all families that lost someone in that horrific time, and I'm just blessed and thank God that you were okay. So we're at NASA now, and probably when people hear NASA, they think astronauts, they think space, but there's so many other jobs, and you just gave the title of your job. Just what did that job entail?
Well, you know, like there's several centers, and each centers has like specialties, things that they do. And so NASA Langley is a research center. So, you know, there's a lot of research involved in new things and how to do this, and you know, exploration and all of that.
If my listeners right now can tell me, any listener right now can tell me what NASA stands for, what the letters NASA stands for, I will give them a free shirt. I'm waiting. I'm thinking. I'm waiting. Okay, no one got it. Mom, please let the listeners know what NASA stands for.
National Aeronautics Space Administration.
Man, that's a lot, and it's impressive, and it sounds really cool. So, Mom, what when you think back on it, what was probably the coolest thing that you were able to witness working for NASA?
I did see quite a few things, and that amazed me. But the thing that stayed with me the most was I met Katherine Johnson. And I don't, in 2016, this movie came out called Hidden Figures. And it was about Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and I think Mary Jackson. And they all worked at NASA, and this was like many, many, many moons ago. Katherine Johnson was touted as the first African-American scientist to work at NASA. And all of them were first African-American supervisor. You know, they were all first. And Hidden Figures was basically about them because they were touted, Katherine Johnson, as being the brains behind the launch that sent John Glenn into space. And meeting her was probably the highlight to me of my career, because I think she paved the way for African-American women at NASA. In 2017, I think, NASA Langley dedicated a building to Katherine Johnson. And I could be wrong about the year. I think it was 2017. And she came to the center and met the lady that wrote Hidden Figures, and I got books signed and all that kind of stuff. But that was awesome to me to meet this beautiful woman who I believe paved the way for many African-American women to be there at NASA.
That's great. That is pretty awesome. And then, women like yourself, strong Black women like yourself continue to carry the torch and hand it off and do a great job. So, I'll give you a hand clap too for your efforts and what you've done there too. So that also, what makes or segues for me to talk about your rank, your grade that you actually achieved at NASA, which was, and I'm looking down at it to make sure I don't get it wrong, GS 14, which that is pretty awesome. The viewers may not understand why that is such an accomplishment. So, Mom, if you will, could you give them once again an understanding of the grading system or the ranking system?
Okay.
Is it federal employees?
Yes. So when you're a federal employee, what you go by call a general schedule. So with that, it's like GS1 to GS15. GS15 is about the highest that you go in the GS system. And yes, I retired as a GS14, and I'm extremely proud to have achieved that rank.
Yeah. I mean, just from my point of view, this is what I get to say. My mother served in the United States Air Force for 20 plus years. She then also worked at the Pentagon and then also worked at NASA, achieving, GS 14. When you just say GS 14, I mean, that right there just sounds like, whoa. Doesn't it sound like super classified stuff? Doesn't that sound awesome? And then it's just there's only one other level within the GS system that's even higher, and that's GS 15. So, I mean, I'm just pretty proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So if people are listening, we've got parents that may be listening and they have a kid that's in high school, or we may have kids that are in high school that are listening and they're thinking about going in the military. What would you what tips would you give them, or what advice would you give them about military service?
I think coming from the military, that it's an excellent choice. I think it teaches you it gives you responsibility. It teaches you to get out and learn and to do things and to get to know different people that are different from you. It gives you a career, gives you an education. I got my associates, bachelor's, and master's while I was in the Air Force, which is when I told you I've been trying to prepare myself for that. And I think it builds character. It gives you such a sense of responsibility and just, I can do this, and leadership abilities. And it's what they make of it. It grounds you. I just think that there are, great opportunities, and I love to see young people going into the military. It's just, it was one of the best experiences of my life.
You asked me in the beginning when I invited you and said I wanted you on the show, you said to me, well, son, I'm not that interesting. I mean, well, what are we going to talk about? Nobody wants to hear from me. And I said, no, Mom, your story is a great, powerful story. And what better platform for it to be than on my platform, which is a story of a young lady who got, pregnant as a teen, persevered, had the child, went into the military, got her 4-year degree, got her master's degree, served greatly in the military for 20 plus years, exited the military, went to work at the Pentagon, exited the Pentagon, went to work at NASA, achieved, such a high level at NASA and did such great things. So, your story, it says, there's a saying that perseverance is genius. And that's your story, Mom. You're a genius. Okay, you persevered.
Thank you, son.
and honestly, to see where we started this journey together, and to see where you are now, it really, really makes me smile on the inside and outside. And I'm gonna tell you, like I've told Tony, I'm calling Tony into this too. When I'm down and feeling like I can't maybe move forward, I'm really frustrated, things aren't going my way, I often think about your journey, having to work 2 and 3 jobs to support your kids. And then I say, hey man, if my mom could do it, I can get up and do it, so. And I think a lot of people are going to gather that from just hearing your story.
Why, thank you, kiddo.
Mm-hmm. And I must say, you look great and you're obsessed with the mission shirt on.
Hey.
Yes.
Thank you.
You look beautiful. And once again, don't be in my mentions, gentlemen. She's happily married. Don't be in my mentions hitting on my moms. Talked about how she had to throw him sometimes. She passed that down to her son. Don't make me have to do it.
He's so silly.
As we wrap up, I really appreciate you being on Welcome to the Mission podcast. Anything you want to leave the viewers with?
I'm just so I feel so proud and honored that you asked me to do this, and I thank you. And y'all support my son and watch his podcast because he is amazing.
I get it from my mama.
Hey.
All right, RJ. I appreciate you and love you much.
Love you. Bye-bye.